This weekend, SpaceX is scheduled to launch a rocket into space from Florida with some very special cargo on board. Cedars-Sinai researchers will send the first ever heart and brain organoids to be grown in space. Those organoids mimic the structure and function of real heart and brain tissue, and they serve as miniature biological models for studying organ development, drug responses, and diseases like heart disease, ALS, and Parkinson's. Steve is down in the ARC Lounge right now with Dr. Brock Roberts, a senior scientist who leads the genome engineering team at the Allen Institute for Cell Science in Seattle. Steve.
Doctor, nice to have you with us here this morning. And I know that you're here specifically to talk about the local connection to what is happening this weekend, and that is these crucial stem cells that are going to be going into space come from the Allen Institute, right? So that's the local connection here. And I wanted to start off by asking you, we hear a lot about stem cells, stem cell research, but I don't know if everybody sort of understands what specifically stem cells are. Can you sort of explain that for us in layman's terms?
Yeah, sure. It's great to have an opportunity to talk about this.
Yeah.
Stem cells are cells that have the ability to crucially replace themselves. So in the body where they exist, they can make a new copy of themselves, and then that copy can then go on and become a different and important type of physiological tissue.
Okay.
Importantly, they often have the ability, stem cells do, to turn into many different types of cells. Sometimes all of the cells in the body, in the case of cells that exist in the early state of the embryo. Sometimes a more limited number of cells, but they all have potential to turn into different cell types and to also replace themselves through cell division.
Okay. Do we know how these cells will sort of play a role in this research this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is these cells are a very good system to make versions of human tissue that can be used for research very efficiently.
Okay.
It's very difficult to get tissue, and through stem cells, we have the ability to make versions of it that sort of function as a really good mimic.
Yeah.
So my understanding is these cells have been used for a lot of different experiments worldwide in many labs. We've been making them for about 10 years. And this particular mission will experiment with them in space, in the unique environment that is space.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a unique mission that's happening this weekend.
Yeah.
For sure. We should know, I wanted to point out some of the video that we've been showing too is the cell types that will be used for this upcoming space trip. So how do we know how this research might sort of impact some of the research that's going into some of these critical diseases that we talked about, heart disease, ALS, some really critical things that a lot of people face around here?
Right. It's very important that researchers have tissue to work on that can function as an example of diseased tissue. And when that is possible, cures can be screened for, can be investigated. It might be through looking at different drugs that are available, trying to develop drugs that have an impact on these diseases. It might be by searching for other genes that are possible to manipulate to make the condition that is the disease improve in patients.
Yeah.
And that basic research is absolutely fundamental. And in order to do that, we need to have cells that can function as a mimic of adult tissue. And that's what these cells are so good for. So you mentioned cardiac disease, heart disease, and neurological diseases. It's possible to make heart tissue from these cells, and from the very same cells, because they're what we call pluripotent, they have the potential to turn into every different cell type, or at least very, very many different cell types. Those very, very same cells that are used to make heart tissue can also be used in a separate experiment to make brain tissue.
Okay. Is there anything specific that you'll be looking for once this research is done? I mean, what sort of fascinates or perks your interest about it?
I don't think the research will ever be done. There's so much we can work on. There's so much to do. I'm personally very, very interested in whether very, very mature tissue is eventually possible to make, and whether it will be possible using cells like these to make an organ that is actually physiologically functional in a human body. So that's like a major long-term quest.
This
that
is really
scientists are
exciting.
looking at. It is. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, to take experiments like this all the way out in space is just, it's mind-blowing to me, and I'm not even a scientist.
I can't imagine the space part. Yeah, I need to work on my lab here on Earth.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the limit of what I can grasp.
Exactly. You and I were talking about your back history, and I know that you're a Seattle guy, grew up in Seattle on Queen and Hill, and obviously work over at the Allen Institute. Tell us a little bit about some of the research that you're involved with at the Allen Institute.
I am a geneticist, so what I work on is genetic manipulation of the cells to make things like these experiments possible. So ultimately what we're trying to do is add features to cells without changing them, without perturbing them or making them abnormal, so they're still relevant to study. But we want to add things to the cells to make them easier to study. And like, for example, these cells that we're talking about today that are part of this mission into space have specific genes tagged, we like to say, so that they fluoresce. And that's not something the cell would normally do, but that makes it possible to watch the cells and learn when that gene is expressed and see where the protein that is made from that gene goes in the cell. So that's the kind of thing that my team and I like to do. We like to make cells more useful for fundamental research through genetic intervention.
Some fascinating work that you do. What sparked your interest in this years ago as little Brock?
I can't remember, but I would probably guess I love nature. I love living things, whether it's frogs in the park or looking at trees or plants or anything like that. So I really like living things, and as I got going in my education, I identified and learned about genetics, which is a very elegant way of learning about relatively sophisticated systems. And it's kind of a field that's evolved through history as a method of learning about the function of specific genes. And that's always attracted me. I've learned that a lot of experiments are possible in the field of genetics, and that what has been possible has accelerated greatly in the last 15 or 20 years. There are a lot of new tools that have become possible. For example, the ability to manipulate these cells and to perform specific genome editing experiments. That has kept me very interested and feeling very fortunate that I get to work on these new tools.
Thank you for the work that you do. I mean, it's really important work. How does it feel that some of the stuff that you're tied to is going to be thousands of miles away?
It's an amazing feeling to be able to look up and know that they're going to be up there somewhere. I just think it shows that the fundamental investment in basic science that Paul Allen was really a strong promoter of can go off into unimaginable directions. Including us.
It's endless. Out there in that big old universe of ours. Thank you for your time, and thanks for your work again, and appreciate you coming in. This is fascinating stuff, isn't it? All the way out there in space.
It's next level, Steve.
Yeah.
Beyond my comprehension.
Mine too.
Yeah, so cool. Thank you so much for that interview.
Yeah.
Still ahead from the role